We can get, I mean, if you're standing anywhere, go walk over there and I'll see where it looks best.
Tiffany, do you know how to get your foot up?
Yes.
Because we can move this camera anywhere, Ben.
Do we need the podium for somebody to be speaking from the podium?
Do you want to move the podium?
So that you don't move?
What do y'all think? I would rather not have.
You're great where you are. Anywhere in the middle. Yeah.
I wonder if the ladies are going to need a podium. And they may not. We can ask them if we can. Okay.
Yeah, anywhere in there. As long as you don't get up. Don't get past this table right here.
Oh.
Well, you want me to go get some out of his office? No, I just mean if he knows not to go past that table, he'll be good.
So can we broaden this, or is this good enough?
Oh, yeah, no,
You can broaden it a lot. If you you can go anywhere in that middle except for past this table.
Yeah, you just can't go past.
Okay, now let's.
Good evening, class of 2022 and 2022 parents. You can cheer, that's a great thing.
That's allowed.
And welcome to 2021 JHS Financial Aid Information Night. A couple of housekeeping matters as we get started. We are being live streamed. Shout out to Grace Trailer, Grace, can you wave over here? So we have several people watching online. We'll show you in a second how to access the recording. It'll be recorded tonight, and if any of the information you're about to hear you forget, just go to where we tell you to go, click on it, and you can hear us say it all over again. Magic technology. Okay, we have some people coming in. Great turnout. So as people come in, we'll just get them signed in with Ms. Lewis, and we want to get started on time so you guys can get out here on time. I know everybody is very, very busy. I want to start with this. And parents, grandparents, guardians, no matter what role you play in a senior's life, you are here because you care about your senior. And we do too. And this is what we tell our seniors every year. We quote this to them. We met with all of them, second week of school in their English classes. We believe this in our bones, in our marrow, and at the core of Jacksonville High School. Okay? We believe every senior, that not every senior has to have the same plan, but every senior must have a plan for life after high school. Those of you in this cafeteria tonight are here because you're interested in developing a plan that includes the word college. 4-year university, 2-year junior college, perhaps a trade or technical school. But the people in this cafeteria tonight are here because you're interested in going to college. And tonight's a very, very important evening. Okay? We're going to throw a lot of information at you. There's going to be plenty of time to ask questions. There's a lot of knowledge in this cafeteria. And most of it is not with this guy. Okay? We do not want you to leave without your questions being answered this evening before you get in the car and go back home and eat dinner on Tuesday evening. Okay? So, what is tonight all about? The first thing the next 30 to 45 minutes are about is teaching everybody here the first steps in the FAFSA process. What is FAFSA? Okay? How do you go about filling it out? It's a long application that trips up a lot of families and students in the United States of America. And it is our belief at Jacksonville High School and in Jacksonville Independent School District, we want to arm our students and parents with information so that you will make a smart choice when it comes to college. Because price tag matters, ladies and gentlemen. And we want you to be an informed consumer of where your child attends college next year. So we're going to learn about the first steps. The next thing, these ladies back here, I'm going to introduce them in a second. We can go ahead and introduce them now. Devin, can you wave? Molly, can you wave? Miss Rose, can you wave? They know a lot about this process. And they're going to tell you specifically tonight what documents you need to fill out the FAFSA and fill it out correctly. Next thing you're going to learn this evening. Okay, we're going to prepare you, okay, to fill out the actual FAFSA. It doesn't get released until October 1st. You cannot fill it out tonight. That's why we do this early, to prepare you for that October 1st release date. And I hope to see a bunch of cell phones come out now to take a picture of that last bullet up there. Because we're not done with you after tonight, September 21st. We provide a lot of support here at Jacksonville High School for college and career awareness. And those 2 evenings, October 5th and October 19th, we'll be back here on campus. Now, it won't be in the cafeteria. It'll be in the library and the computer lab. We are going to have people up here ready and willing to sit down with you, parents, to step you through the FAFSA process. October 5th, the ladies from TJC will be back. On October 19th, the folks from SFA will be here. You can be attending any college or university. They will help you no matter what your college plans are. We appreciate our partnerships with TJC and SFA. So, tonight is step 1, but the 5th and the 19th are equally as important. So we hope to see this many people there on those 2 nights. I want to call up Glenn Willock and say, hey, we need another laptop card. We need 3 more laptop cards. We have so many people here. That's our desire to help you and your students here at Jacksonville High School. So that's what this evening is all about. I wanted to give you an update before we get kick-started. Finally, we're big believers in appreciation here at Jacksonville High School. And this evening would be impossible without these 3 ladies back here, Devin, Molly, and Rose. Without the great Sarah Stevens and the great Jan Lewis. Ms. Lewis, you're in the house. Can you wave to everybody back there? Okay. You can give a round of applause. That's cool. Great. Ms. Stevens, I'm sure everybody's like, where is she? She could not be here tonight, and it is driving her crazy because there is nowhere she'd rather be than the Jacksonville High School cafeteria tonight. So please give her a round of applause, even though she's absent. Please. She deserves it. And finally, I want to thank you guys. It takes a lot, it says a lot about our campus, the culture of our school, and the support that our seniors have, that you would get in that car, put it in drive, and pull up out here in the parking lot this evening. Parents, we are nothing as a school without you. And our seniors would not be where they are, nor where they're going to go, without your help, your love, and your support. We appreciate you guys being here this evening. Okay, live stream, we talked about it being viewable for several days. Here's how you get there. Take a picture if you need to, or write it down if you want. It's the district website, www.jisd.org. Under news and announcements, there's a big link that says JHS Financial Aid Information Session. Click on that, boom, you're good to go. Right, Grace?
Right.
That's all it takes. Without further ado, big round of applause for Miss Devin from TJC. Come on up, Devin.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate the opportunity to come out here. I always get to come to Jacksonville High School. I actually live in Bullard, so it's just a hop, skip, and a jump for me to come here. You guys have the best attendance of all of our events that we have, so we enjoy coming to present this to you and to answer questions that you have. I'm going to do this session about the FAFSA just to kind of give you some tips and pointers, just in case you're proactive and going to get this done on October 1st or before the 5th. Then this is kind of going to get you started in that process. Just to add to the help that you can get, the Apache Enrollment Center on the TJC campus is open late on Thursday evenings until 7 p.m. If you guys need one-on-one assistance, you can actually go and get that assistance there. Again, no matter what college you're attending, you can get assistance from them, and it would be more convenient because we do have the late hours on that evening. They're open until 5 every day. You can go in at any time and get the assistance as well. We do have computers there that you can use. So it would be one-on-one and help with that process. So let's get started here. Here are some of the information that you're going to need in order to complete the FAFSA. You will need the Social Security numbers for the students and the parents, driver's license numbers if you have a driver's license, the 2020 W-2s, for the student and the parent, and then any investment documents. The FAFSA does ask for investment dollars and things like that, but not retirement accounts, not the value of your home, just basically savings accounts, stocks, bonds, CDs, that kind of thing. The TJC priority deadline for the FAFSA is April the 1st. We did not change that deadline when the FAFSA started becoming available October the 1st. So you can really get a jump start on that deadline for us by filling it out this fall semester. Some schools may have an earlier deadline, so that is something that you need to be aware of, is where you're going to college and what their deadlines are. You do want to meet those deadlines, meet or beat them, not be late in those deadlines. You can miss out on a lot of things. The first step in the process, and sometimes the most complicated. How many of you already have your FSA ID? Can you raise your hand if you already have that? Does anybody know what that is? All right, well, I'm going to tell you right now. So the FSA ID is the username and password process that you will use for the FAFSA. So both a student, the student and a parent will need to have one of those. Many times we see some of the seniors creating those in a class that they have during their senior process. But if you don't have that, we will need to create that before we begin the FAFSA, both for you and a parent. This is where you go to do that. It is on the studentaid.gov website, and you would click on the create account icon there. Also, you can do that process through the mobile app as well. How many of you enjoy doing things on your mobile phone and would prefer to use that rather than a PC or a tablet or anything like that? What we're seeing is that students do prefer the mobile app process. So one question at a time type of thing. So we're presenting the FAFSA on the web screenshots for you, which you do on a PC from the website, and also the mobile app, just so you can see what the screen should look like. As far as creating your FSA ID, you have to be careful in that process because the student and the parent need a separate account. So in order to do that, the student and the parent must have a separate email account. They must have a separate cell phone number. And so when you create that, you need to have access to that email at the time that you're creating it. Also, so that means you don't want to use your school email address. Most of the time, these students lose access to that school email address when you graduate. So make sure that you create an email address that you will have access to throughout your college process. This FSA ID is going to be used for each FAFSA that you do every year. The FAFSA is an annual application. And then even when you're done creating or completing the FAFSAs, there's websites that you would need access to if you're a student loan borrower, to check on that kind of thing, even on down the line. Now, I use an FSA ID to check on my parent loans that I took out when my son was in college. In creating your username, do not use sensitive personal information, so you're clear of your date of birth, social security number, things like that. You want to be able to have access to that email address, like I said, so that you can verify that FSA ID. So you would either need the email address or a phone number in order to complete that verification process so that you can use it to sign the FAFSA. There's also a security questions process that you have to set up in case you lose the data for the FSA ID. You would have to create some questions and answers that you will always know the answers to, so make sure that you use things that don't change, such as a sibling's name, color of your first car. Don't use things that have to do with what your like or your favorite thing is. Sometimes those change. Like, don't use your favorite TV show because it may be something now that changed a year down the line. So use things that never change. Also, you must have a social security number to create the FSA ID. You do not use the individual tax ID number to do that. Parents without an SSN will sign the FAFSA by printing and mailing the signature page. And I'm going to ask Rosalind to come up here and do a short interpretation of that information.
Lo voy a explicar en español para aquellas personas que no entendieron. Para crear una identificación para entrar a la aplicación del FAFSA, se necesitará que el estudiante y el padre no deben usar la misma identificación. El estudiante va a usar una y el padre va a usar otra. El email y la clave para entrar. En AFSA también se necesita que el nombre del usuario, que no utilicen la información personal confidencial como el nombre o la fecha de nacimiento. Se pueden usar otras cosas, pero no usen la fecha de nacimiento. Y pueden utilizar una dirección de correo electrónico o un número de teléfono confirmado como inicio a la sesión. Les van a preguntar que confirmen su correo electrónico y confirmen su teléfono. Y también las preguntas de seguridad tienen que seleccionar preguntas en las que la respuesta no cambiará con el tiempo, es decir, del hermano mayor, del lugar de nacimiento, del color del primer vehículo. Y no puede usar, si quiere puede usar, pero se le van a olvidar, seleccionar preguntas que tengan que ver con los cosas favoritas, como una película, una comida, un color, eso cambia y se les va a olvidar. Lo mejor usen algo que se van a acordar siempre. Y para aquellos que deben de tener un número de seguro social para crear una identificación para entrar a la FAFSA, no usen el número del IT, el número verde, ese no lo usen. Se van a usar 0, eso después se los voy a explicar. Y los padres sin seguro tienen que firmar, vamos a tener que imprimir la hoja, no se envía electrónicamente. Se imprime y se manda a Kentucky. Y también los enviamos en la página por correo, pero no los vamos a enviar nosotros, ustedes los van a enviar. Gracias.
Thank you. Okay, so again, this is the website that you should be accessing to complete the FAFSA. These are the screenshots and what it looks like. In past years, we've seen some, we'll say, copycat websites, some scam websites that have directed students and parents to complete the FAFSA that charge money. The FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, so in that process, you should never have to pay money. So that's why we wanted to show you these screenshots. This is the website that you should go to complete that FAFSA. And right there, as we've already heard, it is available October 1st, so it is not available yet. However, if you were to go to the website, you would see the FAFSA there because it is the 21-22 FAFSA that's there for students who are currently in college now. So the application that you guys will need to fill out for your first year of college is the 22-23, I need to say the whole thing, 2022-2023 FAFSA is what you will be completing, and that is not available until October 1st. You will complete a FAFSA every year. That's available October 1st for every year that you're in college. So it is something you have to do every year. Again, this is the mobile app and what you guys as students may prefer to use, and so that's what it's going to look like for you. And as far as the login process goes, how many parents are here without their student? Can you raise your hand? Anybody here without your student? Okay, good. Okay, so we got a lot of students here this evening, but sometimes we have parents that are logging in and may actually complete the process with their information because you guys are more than likely what we call an independent student. You have to record your parent information. So what we do is we ask you as the student to complete your site. Don't make or allow mom or dad to complete your section for you. You need to be just as knowledgeable. So the FAFSA has different roles that you can log in as to complete the process, and in so doing, in some cases, especially on the mobile app, it will tailor those questions toward a parent if they're logged in as a parent and ask it in a more direct and specific way to help them understand what they're answering. So there you have the three roles, the student, the parent, and then there's a preparer process for that. We don't have much experience in seeing that there's preparers doing that, but there are some organizations who complete FAFSAs. There are nonprofit organizations that will do that, and so they are required to log in as preparer, but we haven't seen that much. And then when you log in, it does require the FSA ID or the student's SSN and date of birth. Once you get that FSA ID, it's our recommendation that you continue using that process to do this. because it is something that you need to become familiar with and used to, and hopefully the more you use it, the less likely you are to forget what that is. And I did mention in that creation process of the FAFSA ID, make sure you document what your username is, what your password is, and those security questions and answers that you create. Most everybody has a smartphone. That's an easy way to document that process to keep it secure, because it is something that you want to make sure no one else gets a hold of. All right, and here is another screenshot of the mobile app as far as the I Am a Parent version of that. So, as I've already mentioned, the FAFSA that you guys will complete is the 2022-2023 FAFSA, so be very careful in that process because the 2021-2022 FAFSA is already out there and has been used for about a year now for the students who are currently attending college. Also, you guys probably are already aware of this, but beginning with you guys as the senior class, this FAFSA is required to graduate. So that is, we think that's great because we think everybody should fill out the FAFSA. It has been our advice for a very long time, no matter what you think you're eligible for or not, everyone should complete the FAFSA each year that it comes available. There's kind of a screenshot now of what you're going to see when you actually get logged in and ready to do the FAFSA. You see the two options there that are available. Make sure you're on your correct tab for the 2022-2023. And right there, this is also the screen, what the screen would look like after you completed your FAFSA. You come back in to check your status. Instead of saying current application status not started, you would see the actual status of your application. So it's your portal to check on your FAFSA to see where it's at, what's needed. We've had many students who will go in and answer questions on the FAFSA, but something happened and it not get submitted and not get completed. Maybe it's missing a signature, something like that. And I think we have some screenshots maybe that will show what that is. As was mentioned earlier, there are a lot of questions on the FAFSA. And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, it can get complicated. You do not have to complete the FAFSA in one sitting. Now, when you guys come to your October 5th and October 19th session, hopefully we're going to get it all done in that one sitting. But you don't have to do that. They designed the process for you to create a save key. That save key is something that you will use for that FAFSA submission only. And you want to document that because if you don't complete the FAFSA in that one sitting and have to come back to it later on, you will need that save key to open that particular FAFSA back up, which actually saves time. You don't have to start all over. You just open it back up where you left off. So in many cases, that has to happen if you don't have something that you need in order to answer one of the questions, but you can just save it and come back to it later on. In the process for completing the FAFSA, it does ask you for your high school information. We ask that you actually search for your high school and choose it from the drop-down list. Don't try to freehand it because the high school information is validated back behind the scenes. And so if you don't choose it from their search list, there could be an issue with it getting validated. And you want to make sure that you actually put your actual high school and get it validated. You can also send the FAFSA up to 10 colleges. Now, we're here in front of you, and we want every single one of you to come to TJC. SFA is coming out to help you with your FAFSA too. So you can come to TJC for 2 years and then transfer to SFA. So we want every one of you to come to TJC. But you may not know where you want to go at this point in time because it is early in your senior year. So the FAFSA does give you the opportunity to put in 10 schools. 10 colleges, and they will receive your FAFSA information. In that process, though, every one of those schools is going to begin the financial aid process with you. They will reach out to you and send you information about what are the next steps in the FAFSA process. And you may even get awarded by your financial aid by more than one school. That's okay. When you get everything finalized and you decide which school that is, just make sure that you reach out to the schools that you're not attending to cancel your financial aid or to let them know that you won't be attending. But you can put up to 10 colleges on there so that you don't have to make that decision of where you're going this early in the process. This is one of the things, the best thing since sliced bread. This is IRS brand financial aid office. This is a process that will actually give you a shortcut in completing the FAFSA process. It is the IRS data retrieval tool. So the FAFSA is a federal document. The IRS is a federal organization. You have to file your taxes to the federal government. Well, they can talk to each other. And what they do is, if you put in the right information and it matches your information with who you are and in the IRS database, it will transfer all of your financial data into the FAFSA. And that cuts probably about 20 minutes out of the time that it takes to complete the FAFSA. It will be your best friend, so to speak, and get you through that process quicker than you can blink in most cases. Now, it is very tricky because it is two federal databases talking to each other, and it has to make sure that you're who you are before it's going to let you access your data and transfer it to another federal database. So sometimes we see some issues with that, but once it works, it is a slick process and will help you in the long run get done much quicker. So here's some screenshots of what that looks like once the data is transferred. Now, when it's asking you to match your identity, you have to actually be putting in there what is actually in the IRS database. So if you have any communication from the IRS, you might want to take a look at that before you get ready to do the TRT, because your address has to be in the right format and have your name, and all that stuff has to exactly match, all that good stuff. Now, and like I said, it can be problematic, but there is a way that you do the FAFSA. You have to do it the long way if we can't get this to work, but hopefully everyone can do that. All the address and name information have to match, strictly match, in order to get the process to be successful. Once it is successful, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Basically, there are some pre-filled questions for you that you can skip. Right there, you see where it says transfer from the IRS on the right-hand screen there. Basically, it's not asking you that question because it's already got the answer from the IRS. All right, once you actually complete the FAFSA, and we went over this very quickly because this is not a FAFSA completion process. We want to get more into what is financial aid. You need to know what that is as well and why you're doing the FAFSA. But once you get the FAFSA completed, you'll see a lot of screens of information that look like this. It's a lot of information to kind of put in front of you, but it's basically saying, hey, we're completed the FAFSA, now you need to double check your answers. You want to make sure that the FAFSA data is correct. If you make sure that it's correct in this completion process, your process at your college will go much more smoothly for you. If you are selected for verification, then the financial aid office has to double check that data for you. If you made a mistake, corrections have to be sent, that delays the process for you. So the more you get right up front, the better off you are in the long run, and it will be much smoother for you. This is one of the most important things about the FAFSA, and one of the reasons why the FSA ID is so important. Both you as a student and the parent have to sign the FAFSA, and you do that with your FSA ID. And so you will see screens that go through that process of asking you to sign it. You have to basically read some certifications and some disclaimers or whatever they call them, and then you respond with that. And then if you have logged in with your FSA ID, it's just a checkbox process. If you didn't log in with your FSA ID, which is why I said earlier on, it's better to go ahead and use your FSA ID to log in. You're an authenticated user at that point in time, and your signing process is much simpler for you. You're going to end up having to put your FSA ID in to sign it, so you might as well do it in the very beginning. Then the parents also have to sign it. They have to sign it using their FSA ID. They have to go through the same process of reading all the certifications, making sure their FSA ID is entered, and then have to make sure that they actually click the button, sign this FAFSA form. So if they log into the mobile app or something like that and their FAFSA ID has already been input, they're also an authenticated user, and that process is a little simpler, but I wanted to give you an example of what both sides look like. Here is some advice. I've been in financial aid now for 24, 25 years, a really long time. I've been at TJC for 34 years, so I've been there a very long time. This is some of the advice that I've learned through the years in my 24 years in financial aid that we see and have seen through the years, no matter if the FAFSA was paper or if it was an online form like it is now. Parents, when you enter your information, and you're actually doing it for your student, we advise against, but we know it happens sometimes. Be very careful when you're entering the data. They have changed the FAFSA through the years multiple times, trying to make sure that when parents are reading the question, they understand it's for the student. But because of the way they're worded, sometimes the parent will put in their date of birth or their social security number because they think it's asking for theirs, but it was actually asking for the students. So be very careful in the process when you enter the biographical information. I said this was a federal form. This federal form reaches out into a lot of other federal databases to make sure things match. So it reaches out into the Social Security Administration to make sure that your student's name and date of birth and social security number belong to who you say it belongs to in that process. So just like they transfer the tax data into it, it does reach out and it actually flags it if there is a problem with what you put in. So if you put in your date of birth for your student, that's not going to match with the Social Security Administration records, and you'll have some issues with getting that correctly. The parent data must be the current legal parent. So we see a lot of confusion on that because if student is in mom's custody and mom had remarried, it wants mom and stepdad's information on the FAFSA, not mom and biological dad who are no longer together. It wants mom and stepdad on the FAFSA. So you have to make sure that that remarriage situation is accounted for correctly. Also, if you as a student don't live with either of your biological parents, but live with another relative, it does not want that relative as your parent on the FAFSA unless that relative has adopted you. So we see that a lot where that gets confusing. If you are a student who don't live with your parents, then come up and see us at the end. Both Molly, Rosalind, and I will be taking questions at the end. There are some questions that it's not good to ask in a general context like this, but you need more detailed answers, and we usually hang around for a few minutes at the end of the session to answer those types of questions. Does anyone have any questions so far about the FAFSA process that can be asked generally? All right, we'll be around for a few minutes. All right, so also, when the FAFSA, there's a lot of data that the FAFSA asks, and that data is used to calculate the code that Molly's going to talk about here in just a little bit. Part of that data, it asks for how many lives in the household and how many of that household are going to college. Now, we might have some parents in the audience tonight that are also attending college, but you cannot count your parent as attending college when you're completing the FAFSA for your student. It does not want you to count yourself as in college, just the student and any other siblings or that are going to college. We also see a lot of mistakes when it asks for assets. You do not want to include the home that you live in or your 401k in the value of your assets. That is protected, and you do not need to report that on the FAFSA. So, parents who do not have a social security number will enter zeros on the FAFSA. Have you already talked about that? Or do you want to come up and give them? You've already talked about it?
No, I'm going to.
I'm going to ask Rosalind to explain that a little bit further.
Ok, vamos a hablar cuando empezamos a hacer lo de el complemento de las bases. Vamos a empezar bien cuidadosamente a poner el nombre, la fecha de nacimiento y el seguro social. Esto tiene que ser bien, checar todos los números, porque a veces con los números ya no podemos hacer ya no se concuerda la aplicación con el padre y el hijo. Los datos de los padres deben de ser padres legales actuales, el padre y la madre. Si se aplica el divorcio, van a ser el nuevo matrimonio. Va a estar casada la pareja, no porque viven con un papá o viven con la mamá, están con los que viven y es el matrimonio que deben de poner ahí. No el abuelo, no la tía, ni ningún otro familiar. Nada más los padres, el padrastro, si está casado con la mamá, es el que vamos a poner en la casa. El estado civil de los padres, que son padres legales. El estado es casado y la madre ahora está casada con su padrastro. Es lo que estaba diciendo hace unos momentos. El número en el colegio, también preguntan eso, ¿cuántos en el colegio? Si tienen 2 hijos los padres en el colegio, van a poner 2. Si es uno, nada más van a poner 1. Si el papá y el hijo están en el colegio, nada más se cuenta 1, porque el papá no se cuenta. Los bienes inmuebles, o sea, cuando preguntan lo del real estate, las inversiones y todo eso, la casa no cuenta, esa está protegida. No incluye la vivienda ni el 401 que sean las inversiones que tengan. El padre sin seguro social, los hijos todavía pueden llenar la FAFSA, pero los padres van a poner los 0, 9 0. No van a poner like ni nombre. Ya había dicho esto anteriormente, vamos a poner los ceros y se va la firma se va a mandar por correo. Y esto va a decir, cuando estamos llenando, va a decir que hay error, pero no es error, es por los ceros. Pero todo va a estar bien. ¿Okay? Gracias.
Okay, so once the FAFSA is completed, now we're going to talk about the Texas application too. For the FAFSA, you have to be a citizen or a permanent resident in order to complete the FAFSA. But there's a state application that you can fill out as well, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. This FAFSA process, once you've completed it, you're going to get a confirmation page. And this is what the confirmation looks like. Congratulations, that you completed the FAFSA. And then I wanted you to see, now I've made this slide here and put TJC's name in there because on these test slides, they didn't have TJC on there. What a shame. But I did that so you can see that it does list your schools that you put on there and some data for those schools so that you can review that. So that's what it would look like when you finish it. This would be that status that I was talking about. See up there in the left-hand corner where it says current application status, process successfully. That's what everybody wants to see, process successfully. So if there are issues, you will see an error message there. And it will basically tell you kind of what the problem is that you would need to resolve before you would get that process successfully. Also, you kind of see a corrections history. If you check that FAFSA summary and you made a mistake, you can make corrections to your FAFSA without the school having to intervene. You can go ahead and be proactive in that process and make corrections on your own, and you can track that information. Again, here is that action required. It kind of changed this process, and instead of giving you different screens with different titles, it just gives you one action required message there, and with a little more detail on what the problem is and how you need to go in and get that corrected. So if you see this yellow button, action required, yellow means, hey, caution, there's something you need to do. Green means you're done. Yellow means there's something that you need to do. That means that you need to take action. Your school's not going to be able to do anything until you get the green light over there, okay? So you may think you submitted it, but if you've got an action required, then everything's on hold until you get this action required taken care of. All right, now I mentioned the state application. It's the Texas application for student financial aid, and it is also available on October 1st. In most colleges, at CJC, for example, we have a packet that we're going to give you. We're going to give you information, instructions how to fill it out. We can give you the form itself, and then you turn it back into this TJC. But you want to make copies because in this case, because it's not an online form, it doesn't have a slip process where you can send it to 10 schools with the push of a button. You have to actually send these paper copies to whatever schools or colleges you're planning to go to. So this one is a little more paper heavy. They do plan to make it an online application with the state of Texas, but they're going to wait until they're making some huge simplifications to the FAFSA. Your second application that you fill out, and then the third application that you fill out, you're going to see a lot of changes and get the application a lot easier. So the state's going to kind of wait until those FAFSA changes are done before they create an online process. So right now, the TAFSA is paper-based, and it will take you a little more work to get this done for you students who cannot complete the federal application. You can complete this, and then you would be eligible for state money. When Molly gives her presentation, she's going to go into detail about the different types of financial aid. So when you hear state, you guys who fill out the TAFSA, pay close attention to what the types of aid that you are eligible for. Okay, Rosalinda. After Rosalinda presents this information, then Molly's going to come up and give you more details about the types of financial aid.
Ok, ahora vamos a hablar de la solicitud estatal que se llama TAFSA. ¿Quién califica para TAFSA? Aquel ciudadano no estadounidense que cumple con los requisitos del Texas a la residencia. Que quiere decir que ha vivido en Texas por al menos 5 años. La solicitud de ayuda financiera estatal de Texas es hasta el 1 de julio. La solicitud de ayuda financiera estatal, el TAFSA, es una aplicación gratuita que recopila información para ayudar a determinar la elegibilidad para programas estatales o institucionales o financieros ya administrados por una institución o educación superior en el estado de Texas. Estudiantes clasificados como residentes de Texas que no son elegibles para solicitar la FAFSA, la ayuda financiera federal, mediante la solicitud gratuita de ayuda federal, recomendamos que utilicen la TAFSA, o sea, la ayuda estatal. Para revisar los requisitos de presentación de la FAFSA, tienen que visitar el FAFSA.gov, que se mira ahí, nada más con la FAFSA.gov, o comuníquese con la Oficina de Ayuda Financiera de los colegios. La que planea asistir para este año es 2022-2023. Y vamos a tener una nota especial. La solicitud federal cubre las oportunidades de ayuda financiera federal y estatal. Si usted cumple los requisitos de presentación de FAFSA, debe enviar la FAFSA. Si no, es necesario que complete las dos. O completa la FAFSA o completa la FAFSA. Porque hemos tenido veces estudiantes que tienen los dos. Se confunden el estudiante y nos confunden a nosotros. Okay, la FAFSA está disponible, ya va a estar disponible el 1 de octubre, vamos a tener paquetes en la escuela, si gustan venir a la escuela o hablar con sus advisors de aquí de los colegios, de la escuela de después vamos a estar disponibles después del día 1 de octubre. Gracias.
Hello all. I forgot to click. I was trying to save steps and they didn't do any good. Okay.
We don't practice.
So we're going to talk a little bit about professional judgments before we get into the actual funds and awarding. We have seen an increase in these, and I will tell you that at TJC we call them something different. But if you are reaching out to other institutions, the term that you need to use when you talk to the financial aid office is professional judgment. So at TJC, we actually call them special conditions or dependency override. So Devin talked to you a little bit about parent and who can and cannot go on the application. So I will tell you, part of the FAFSA application that drives me absolutely crazy is the question about what is your parent's marital status. So we read it and we automatically think if our parents are divorced, their marital status is divorce because it's asking about our biological parent. But the FAFSA is not asking about your biological parent. It's asking about your legal parent, which is something different. A legal parent can be a biological parent, a step parent, or an adopted parent. It cannot be anybody else. If you have an aunt, an uncle, or grandmother that has guardianship over you, they cannot go on this application. So in those situations, you would complete the FAFSA, and there is a button that says, I'm unable to provide parental information. You'll click the button, you'll reach out to all of the schools that you're interested in going to, and you will tell them that I am unable to provide my parents' information for whatever reason, and I need to do a dependency override. Everybody calls it a dependency override. It's really important when you talk to your financial aid offices to use the terminology that they are familiar with, because it can kind of open up the communication and it doesn't get lost, and they don't send you down the wrong rabbit trail. So if this doesn't apply to anyone that's in here, you can provide parental information. After you submit your application and the college of your choices, the colleges of your choice receive the application, you will ask them to complete a dependency override. That is where you will turn in documentation that can prove that the parent maybe is not in your life and cannot provide the documentation that is needed. Another special circumstance is income changes. We are asking for income from 2020. You're going to be completing the FAFSA this year in 2021, and you're going to be attending school in college in 2022. So we're asking for income a year to 2 years back. A lot of you, sadly, have seen a decrease in income in the household. Because we're asking for the income for 2020, the government allows financial aid offices to go in and make adjustments to that income under certain circumstances. So if anyone went on unemployment, if anyone's salary was increased, most colleges will say 50%. TJC will do it for little, at 10%. We have seen a difference in 10%. The goal of a special circumstance when it comes to an adjustment of income is to allow the student to receive better financial aid. As we go through the funds, you'll see that sometimes a student might not become grant eligible, but they will become eligible for better funding under financial aid with a special circumstance and special conditions. So a college most likely will not reach out and call everyone and send out mail and say, hey, did anybody's income change? We want to try to help lower it. They could, but they might not. So that's where you would need to reach out to your colleges and do these special circumstances for each college. All right. So the FAFSA currently, once you complete all of the documentation in the FAFSA, it currently spits out this magical number called an EFC. That is going to change next year. It's going to be called something different, but we're going to focus on what it's called currently. An EFC is an estimated family contribution. It really is just an index number. That number allows the financial aid office to know how much financial aid we can give the student, along with categories of financial aid we can award the student. We're going to dive into those funds and those categories here in a little bit. Each college is also required to create what's called a cost of attendance or a budget. And those things are included with tuition and fees, books, room and board, transportation, personal supplies. So as you see on this next slide, these are TJC's actual cost of attendance. So, does anyone in here think that it costs $16,000 a year to go to TJC? It does not cost $16,000 to go to TJC. Do you remember when I said the cost of attendance for transportation, personal, other kinds of expenses within your education. So that is why the number is larger than what it truly is to attend TJC. So for our out-of-district students, for full-time load, you're looking at anywhere between 1,400 to 1,600, depending on the courses that you take. So yes, we've been able to fluff the number, for lack of a better term. That allows us to award the student more financial aid and scholarships. The government says whatever your cost of attendance is, students cannot receive above that amount, excluding scholarships. So scholarships are not. So a student can get $40,000 worth of scholarships, and we can't tell them they can't have that. But there are some limits with the financial aid and the funds that we're going to talk about that we do have to cap off if it gets above the cost of attendance. This is a lot of information that we're throwing out at you. I know eyes are probably glazing over, I get it. But that's why I've got the handout, and hopefully you can rewatch the video. But I promise you over time it will make sense as you go through your financial aid process. These are funds that are actually awarded at Iowa Junior College. And some of the funds that we're going to talk about are awarded at other institutions. And I'm going to tell you what is specific to TJC and then what is not, so you will know where to visit the websites for the colleges that you are interested in. The top fund on the screen is the Pell Grant. The second fund is the SEOG grant. Both of those are federal funded amounts and types of funds, sorry. They come off of the FAFSA. So students who apply for the FAFSA, you are eligible to see if you can get these types of funds. If you apply at TJC, if you apply at SFA, if you apply at Harvard, Rice, TCU, you all can apply for these funds. All of the institutions get these, what I call little buckets of money that they get to play with. All of the institutions get these. If you see on the Pell Grant, for this current year, it's capped off around $6,000. It does not matter where you go to school. That is all you can get if you're fully Pell eligible. So if tuition and fees at your institution are like $20,000 a semester, all you're going to get is half of that $6,000 for one semester. That's the year amount. So we give you half in the fall, and then half in the spring, January to May. So, as your principal was talking, it's time to start looking at budgets, putting pencil to paper, seeing how far these dollars can stretch. So this is where we need to start doing the math. So we give you the maximum amount that a student can be eligible for. On the SEOG amount, the $1,000 that you see on the screen is the amount entitled to your college awards. Other institutions might award that differently than what we have selected to do for our population. So what is on the screen is based off of TJC's funds. Our SEOG funds are a much smaller pot of money that we get to play with for our institution. They go very quickly. Do you remember Devin saying that the application opens October 1? That's why you need to apply on October 1, 2nd, or 3rd. You need to get your FAFSA completed as quickly as possible. You need to come to your FAFSA workshops in October, get them done quickly so you can try to grab the SEOG funds either from TJC or from other institutions that you're hoping to attend. So, TAFSA students that Rose talked to you about, and Devin mentioned, as well as our FAFSA students. These are state funds. These are awarded at state colleges only. And most of the funds, the two funds that we have listed are funds that TJC awards. Our private schools have different state funding, and our board institutions also have different state funding. You can see what they offer, who is eligible for those funds, by looking at their financial aid website at their college. but this kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at. These funds also go very quickly, and these are also capped off for this year. So there is not anyone that I'm aware of that will give any student all 4 of these funds. There's no one in here that's going to get the Pell, SCOG, TPEG, and TEOG. It's not going to happen. We want to spread the wealth because we want to make sure that as many people as possible can get some type of grant funding. You see that TPEG, that has an EFC range, and that is because that is where students slowly start inching out of being eligible for the Pell Grant. So we want those individuals to also benefit from some free money. And so that's why we've assigned our TPEG money to our students who get just a little bit of Pell Grant and maybe none at all. So they get a little bit of the free money as well. So far, you've noticed that everything I've talked about has the word grant in it. Grant starts with a G, so does gift. A grant is gift funds that the federal government or the state are going to give you. They don't expect you to pay it back, but they do expect you to do something. You've got to be good students, you've got to go to class, and you've got to pass your classes. Everywhere you go. You don't do those 3 things, they're going to want their money back, all of it or a portion of it. So we expect you to do the work, all the free money that you might be eligible for. The same thing could apply to scholarships if you are awarded those as well. The TEOG, that is awarded to incoming students or any student that has less than 30 college credits. Some of you have been doing dual credit. Excuse me. So if you have less than 30 college credits, you could be eligible for those funds as well. These funds go very quickly. We ran out of these 2 funds in a month when we started awarding because FAFSA and TAFSA students are competing for this money. If you wait until December to do your financial aid application and complete everything and submit it to us, you're not going to receive these 2 funds if you're eligible for them because you've waited too long. The same thing could apply if you're applying at other institutions. So we're kind of saying the same thing. You got to get on this, you got to stay on top of it, you got to finish it. FSAID is the first step, completing the FAFSA is the second step, turning in all your documentation is the third step, and then it never stops. Every time you look at your TikTok or Snapchat, you need to be looking at your college portals. If you have 5 colleges you want to go to, you better be looking at all 5 college portals every time you look at Snapchat or TikTok. You do something for 30 times in a row, it becomes a habit. You never think about it again, you just start doing it. That's what needs to happen when you check your financial aid. So now we're going to kind of start talking about a thing that isn't so much free. It's not in that category of gift funds, and that is student loans. So we have the cap off of the Pell Grant to the $6,400. The student loan combined also cut off at $5,500. No matter where you go, it's cut off. So I like to actually start talking about the one at the bottom that starts with the U. So students that are here, we have a lot of students, which I love seeing. You, the student, are responsible for the interest of the unsubsidized loans while you are in college. You have to pay the interest on that, or you can let it defer and just continue to compile on top of each other. So it just continues to balloon and get larger and larger, okay? The unsubsidized one. The subsidized one, the government is going to defer, pay the interest while you're in school, as long as you're enrolled in 6 hours, that's 2 classes, English and history, 2 classes. 6 hours, the government will defer the interest on that particular loan through your entire academic career. That means when you get done at TJC and get your associates, and you transfer to SFA and you get your bachelor's, if you don't take a long break of 6 months, then they'll continue to defer that interest You finish your bachelor's, you go on to your master's, you're still not paying any interest because you're still in school. You keep going for your PhD or your medical, you still aren't paying any interest because you're still in school. That's how that very first loan works. So if you had to choose between two loans, obviously the subsidized loan is the best of the two. If you had to choose between the loans and a credit card, the loans are better than a credit card. Parents, if you say, I don't want my child, my student to take out any loans, I'll just take out a loan and I'll pay for their education myself. I don't want them to have the debt. They have better repayment plans and lower interest than a parent taking out a loan along with your credit cards. They don't care who pays the loan back, they just want the money. So let your student take out the loan, helps their credit score, helps their credit line. We have not checked anybody's credit yet either. We're not going to. It's a guaranteed loan for the student. Parents, you can pay that back if you want. It's fine. But it helps your student's credit. So keep those in mind. Student loans aren't always bad. They're there, they're a good debt, in my opinion, because it allows you to achieve your education goals. This gives you a brief summary of how the repayment works. You have 6 months grace period before you have to make your first payment. Students, that means that you could take a semester off. You could take a summer off. You can take a fall off if you wanted. You cannot take summer and fall off, because that's more than 6 months, or they're going to want to pay it. So make sure that you're not out of school for more than 6 months unless you're ready to start making those payments. You will be getting communication via email and mail from your servicers who are servicing the loan on how to make payments. Keep all that documentation. It is imperative to keep up with everything. This is your debt that you're going to have to pay back. And also, students, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes if I don't have anything that I want for my birthday or my Christmas, I have asked my mother to pay on my student loan, and she has. So for one of my gifts a couple of years, I said, will you pay on my student loan instead of spending the money on some junk I don't need? And she did. So you could ask for that, and people might actually do it. Again, they don't care who's gonna pay it, they just want their money. All right, so plus loans. This is for the parents' loans. Derek's talked about taking out a parent loan for her son. So parents, if the student's loan and the grants and scholarships that they have received are not enough to cover all the costs, parents can apply for a loan. This is credit-based. It is going to hit your credit. You must go to the studentloans.gov link that's on the screen to apply. Parents, you are the borrower. We get a ton of parent loans, and on the borrower, they put the student's name because they're going to college, it's supposed to be them. You're the one borrowing the loan this time, parents, so we need you to put your name on that application. It is credit-based, but even if you do have poor credit, some parents are still being approved for it. It does have a different interest rate. Payments can start usually immediately after the second disbursement. You're looking at about February of the academic year, or you may defer those payments. So you would have to be in contact with the people that service your parent loan to see if they'll allow you to defer that. So I've talked a lot about money, what they are, funds, some of the terms you've never heard before. So before I go on to the next slide, does anybody have any questions about the grant funds that we've talked about or the student loans that we've just talked about? Nobody yet? Okay, remember, we're going to be around if y'all want to ask us privately. TJC and other colleges do have a work study program. You're not going to get rich, I promise. You're not in the TJC work study, you're not going to get rich. But it is a great opportunity. I did work study, and I learned very quickly. I was put in the nurse's office when we had a nurse's office at TJC. And any of you who are going into the medical field, God bless you. Because I learned very quickly, I can't work in the medical field. I didn't like the shots, I didn't like any of that. So the work study taught me really quickly We've had some students who thought they wanted to do education. They did work study in some of our Tyler schools. They learned really quickly they didn't like being teachers, so they changed their degree. So work study, we try to put you in a field that you're interested in and work in that department, and it allows you to see if this is something you really want to do. It also can open a lot of doors. So if you're getting a degree at TJC and it needs to open some doors for you a job straight out of TJC, sometimes your supervisor knows someone that can open that door for you. If you're leaving TJC and transferring to a four-year institution for a competitive program, if you're in, let's just say, the biology department, that biology professor could know someone at your four-year institution that can help your application just move up a little bit on the stack. It sometimes is such a benefit to do work study. It allows you to focus on your education, just have a little bit of money on the side, gas, going to the movies, those kind of things. So don't forget to look into that work study program. TJC, do not award it up front. You must apply like you would for a regular job at TJC. Some of our other institutions, they do award that up front. So you would want to visit with your college of choice to see how they award the work study and if you qualify for that. TJC, we communicate with our students through our TJC portal. Remember me saying every time you look at Snapchat, TikTok, you need to look at your portals? All colleges have portals. They all communicate differently. Devin showed you how the Department of Education tells you if there's a problem with FAFSA, and it was a bright yellow. That's what we do. We call these traffic lights. If it's a red light, we're supposed to stop. Okay? If it's a green light, you go on to the next box, just like you would at a traffic light. If it's a yellow light, don't act like you're Tyler and Floyd and zoom through that light. You need to slow down, click on that yellow box, and see what we need you to do. That's what the yellow means. It doesn't mean push on that pedal and get through that purple light. It means slow down, click on the box, see what we need you to do. That second yellow box that you see on the screen, it's kind of finicky. It likes to change colors. So it'll go green after you turn it on your documentation, and we'll look at the documentation, and if something's missing or we have a question, we'll change it back to yellow. And we'll be like, we need you to answer a question for us. You answer that question for us. Sometimes what we write on a piece of paper, we don't translate real well, and we don't understand what you're trying to tell us, so we'll kick it back again. That light likes to change back and forth, back and forth. It will even change after you've been awarded. And that yellow box can prevent your financial aid from paying. So, how many of y'all students love to get up 7 o'clock in the morning and be in your class by 8 o'clock sharp, ready to go? Okay, so we have a few over here. Okay, just a few. So, my tip would be not to register for an 8 o'clock class if you don't like to get up in the morning. So register those afternoon classes. If you know you're a night owl, you're going to hang out with your friends, you're going to stay up really late, don't register for an 8 o'clock class. Register for like a 2 o'clock class. However, if these lights continue to turn yellow, green, and prevent your financial aid from awarding, and you've got the perfect schedule, you don't walk into your first class till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You get to sleep till 2, roll out of bed in your pajamas, and walk into class. It is heaven. But you didn't get your financial aid in order, therefore didn't pay and hold your classes, you just lost your schedule. The only classes available are 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. And you got to tell your mom that you just lost your perfect schedule and you're not sure you're going to go to 6 because you don't want to get up at 7 o'clock. I don't think she's going to go to it. So you got to make sure that everything's taken care of, and at TJC, your traffic lights are all green, and at any other school, everything's taken care of so you don't lose that perfect schedule. So our last slide before we go and take any other questions, and I turn it back over to the great principal, is the key is do not procrastinate. Read everything we give you and check check those school portals all the time. Thank y'all so much, and we'll be sticking around.
Thanks, Molly. Before we get out of here, I want all parents and students to listen very carefully, because I've been back in that cafeteria the last hour, and I want to tell you something. I'm going to shoot very straight with you. I want every parent and student in this cafeteria to picture a river. And on either side of that river, you got two pieces of land. On one side, students, you have your dream, which is since you were 4 and 5 years old at Joe Wright, West Side, East Side, and Fred Douglass Elementary, you want to go to college. We tell you since you're 5 years old, college, college, college. That's one piece of land. And then on this side, you got another piece of land. And that's actually being there and actually succeeding there. And between the dream and the reality, there's a river. And that river is swift, it's deep, and it's treacherous. And a lot of kids and a lot of families, they drown in that river. Because when it comes to this stuff right here, they don't know what to do. And that's not always their fault. But seniors and senior parents listening to me and to these ladies tonight, I want to be very clear with you. If we're going to cross that river together, we have to build a bridge. And that bridge is built from knowledge. Knowing what to do, knowing who to ask, knowing who to call and who to email if you don't know the answers. 22 years ago, about right now, there's a senior at Jacksonville High School named Ben Peacock, whose dad died in a car wreck about 5 months earlier. He had a mom, single income family, with an older brother and an older sister in college, not a whole lot of money in the house. He ended up being a Pell Grant kid with loans. He still pays back his student loans right now, today. And they're worth every penny. Because without them, I wouldn't have a college degree. And my mom, with a college education, she still works in the district. She and I struggled to figure out how to work this. And if you're over the age of 30, there was nobody here helping you like we are tonight. Parents, you know what I'm talking about. You had to figure it out, and you sank or you swam in that river. There was no bridge. Now there's a bridge. And that bridge is us, and you, and your seniors trying to get across that water. But it's hard, and it's deep, and it's swift, and it's treacherous. So parents, I need you to know that tonight. We can't do it. That dream will not become a reality unless we build that bridge. Okay? Devin, Miss Rose, Miss Molly, I really appreciate you guys. Before we cut loose, I'll be here for a few minutes. These 3 members of CTAC will be here for a few minutes. Please remember October 5th and October 19th, because that's when we put what you learned tonight into practice. Help us help you build a bridge for our seniors. Have a great night. I'll be here with some questions. Thanks, everybody.
Want to say amen during
I know.
that process.
I know.